This is the Freud's Angels podcast.
I'm Vanessa, your intuitive counselor.
And I'm Grace, your spiritual guide. Our goal is to help you learn to blend your spiritual connection
And mental consciousness to give you clarity
and understanding to lead a life
of your choosing. Welcome.
We're glad you're here. Hey, angels, welcome to the podcast. We are on episode 211, which, okay. And welcome to the 6th season of the Freud's Angels podcast.
Yay!
Like, just blowing my mind all around, everywhere. So, yeah, 211. So, we have a guest today. And we've been having a lot of guests, but this guest I'm kind of excited about because I experience what we're going to talk about. And so it's really cool. So I can give you firsthand experience of it. We have Adrienne Craighead. Is that how you say your last name?
Okay. You nailed it.
Okay. Because sometimes I'm like, oh, my articulation doesn't sometimes work for names. She is a beautiful soul. She is an experienced energy healer and luminous light worker with a passion for people. She is committed to helping people stop your suffering and elevate your experience through spiritual counseling, energetic alignment, emotional release, and tachyon therapy provided at TorchBearer Tachyon. She serves clients locally in Charlotte, North Carolina, and around the globe because you can do it remotely, of course. This transcendent new modality is radically changing lives for the better on 4 levels: physical, mental, emotionally, and spiritually. Welcome, Adrienne. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for agreeing to be part of this. I mean, we've only met twice technically, but we kind of had a conversation once, and it was like, come on the podcast. I think this is great.
I was just psyched to find out about the podcast. And then when you suggested that this could be a potential place to educate your listeners about tachyon, I'm like, I am so in. I've had this on my calendar and looking forward to this for weeks, y'all.
Yeah,
awesome.
Yeah.
I'm so excited about that. Because I mean, really, when we started the podcast, we were just like, let's just like help, you know what I mean? Just whatever help feels like in the moment, right? Like, and again, intuitively. And I feel like leaning into bringing things to the space that we're not necessarily educated about, right? Like, because we care very much about giving good information, and just kind of breezing over things because we may have experienced them or we may have read about them. It's like that can be helpful, but when we have somebody who really can say this is what's happening and it's all in one place, I'm so into it. Like, I'm very excited, and for me, like, I'm a learner today, so I'm like, yes, let's do it.
This is a wonderful, wonderful opportunity. And thank you both for bringing this podcast to life for 6 seasons. I mean, listen to that accomplishment. Episode 211. This is big.
So like good. I keep saying, longer than any relationship I've ever had.
The truth, man.
But it's like, it's like Vanessa said, it's about bringing tools. Like, we talk a lot about concepts, and we talk a lot about our mind and trauma and things, so many different things. We're so eclectic, but I think sometimes bringing experts on to talk about the things that they are expert in, or that they are well versed in, or that is part of what they shine into the world, like they're part of their light. Because it's like I keep saying, we all have our own special sauce, right? We have our own energy that we're working with, it coming into the light, and what works for one may not work for another, and then it may work beautifully for a different person. And so the more we can educate people on different tools to help them manage through the world, especially now, that the more I think that we can serve as something that is bringing that to them. So yeah, super pumped today.
Fantastic. Where would y'all like to get started?
Well, I mean, I'm, again, like I said, I'm a learner, so I'm just going to be like, it's going to be like, I'm going to be holding back questions because I am a curious person by nature, and I'm like, what's that? So what
Bring
is
it, Vanessa.
Tachyon? Like, what is it? Like, it's such a cool word. Like, it resonates in me something. I don't know what it is. So what is tachyon?
That's a great place to start. So tachyon is spelled Tachyon. And that Greek Latin origin word, that tachy, is like part of tachometer on your car. It tells you how fast you're going. So tachyons are a subatomic particle that travel faster than the speed of light. And why does that matter? When you're in a field of tachyons, They are these beautiful little divine energy balls, microscopic, subatomic, and they are helping each of our cells to detox, release any blockages, dissolve any, things that don't need to be there, but they're also helping build alignment. And that way our cells can each hold more light. And in our world, light is energy, it's information, it's love, it's our chi, prana, life force energy. So Tachyon is enabling us all to shine a little brighter through repeated exposure to this beautiful field. It's also a consciousness. And that part, I know your listeners and you guys will dig. I don't necessarily share that with all the visitors to the Tachyon Chamber because I think it starts to, they're like, okay, let me back out of the room slowly.
Yeah, people
like I can do the little particles thing like that. I can do it, but like what?
But it's how I bridge that gap between people that are like, when you talk about energy sessions or healing or Reiki or hollow bone, whatever it is that you're doing, and you're like, but they're like, but how? It's like they think it's completely made up, but it's like, no, it's not, because I bridge it with the idea of we are made of atoms. Our atoms vibrate at a certain frequency. When they're stuck or they're slow or sluggish, their vibration lowers. And when we bring in energy and we start to let energy flow, it helps your atoms and all the molecules in your body and all your DNA and everything there vibrate at a higher frequency, which means it clears the stagnation and it helps you live a more vibrant life. That's how I bridge the gap that people are like, we want science.
Yes.
We want proof. But it's legit, man. It's legit, because there are some things out there that you're just like, really?
Yeah.
I mean, even as a healer, I'm like, ooh, not so sure. But fun fact, I was introduced to Tachyon, 2017, 18. My therapist at the time she was in connection with Tachyon Chamber I think it's in Phoenix or somewhere in the Phoenix area. And I was in Sedona at the time, and she would bring it into therapy session. And, and I could totally feel it. I could totally feel the transformation. And I ended up buying a shawl that I actually gifted because I really felt it was a gift for someone. But when I went to visit her after I moved away, I ended up buying one of her blankets because I was like, yeah, yes. And so it was really awesome to meet Adrienne and to discover that she had a Tachyon chamber, because I never went to Phoenix because sometimes it's a long way away from Sedona, but and to experience it and to really kind of at a level that was far greater than some of the things that my therapist had sold. So it was really interesting. So it was fascinating. But let's talk about the consciousness. I think let's go into it, because I think it's an important part.
I do too. And I want to just almost preface this part of our conversation with, Grace, isn't it interesting when you said some people are like, show me the science. And those same people will walk into their local library and be like, where's the Wi-Fi signal? It's not strong enough.
God.
They don't understand Wi-Fi at all. Can't see it, taste it, but they're all about Wi-Fi or microwaving their food. They don't know how a microwave works. I don't know how a microwave works, but they need to know how Tachyon works. So when I was first introduced to Tachyon, and this kind of might be a little context to help us enter into that consciousness discussion. I was on a road trip with a gal pal during COVID. And she and I had done lots of hiking that first year of COVID, all through 2020, just to keep our sanity and groundedness and just check out of the fear, check out of our heads, get into our hearts, lots of hiking. So Rachel said to me one week, she's like, hey, in the spring, I'm going to go on a road trip to Virginia. Do you want to go? And I'm like, yes, you had me a road trip. I don't care where. Let's go. And then she said, the reason we're going to this little town in Virginia is because there's a Tachyon chamber there, and I'm going to do a 1-hour session. And I remember saying, Tachyon, is this like some kind of Star Trek thing? And she said, maybe it kind of is a little gateway portal. She said, you don't have to do it. I know you're not into crystals. I know you're not into the woo, but I'm going to do this. I think it'll help me with my adrenal fatigue symptoms. I was like, well, I'm curious, always curious, the Gemini. So I will do some research, and nonetheless, I'm going with you on the road trip. So when I started doing research, I couldn't find very much online about Tachyon or Tachyon chambers, but I did find Dr. Joe McNamara's website, and I did end up calling him in advance and saying, hey, I'm going to be Rachel's road trip, ride or die. She's coming for a session on Saturday morning. if it's okay, can I have like a maybe session right after her appointment? And he's like, absolutely. You come in, you hang out in the waiting room with me. Rachel will do her session. And then if you decide you'd like to try it, Adrienne, you'll go in the appointment right after Rachel's. So Dr. Joe and I chat, Rachel's in session. And when she comes out, she is kind of glowing. I mean, it looks like she's just come out of, I don't know, like a really interesting dream or something. She's got this slight smile on her face. She's glowing. She's levitating. I'm like, Rachel, how was it? She's like, I don't know. It just happened, but it was something. It was definitely something. So I'm curious enough to say, okay, Dr. Joe, throw me in the Tachyon chamber. Let's see what this feels like. And I lay in this chair, and I remember feeling like I'm under this pyramid, and there's crystals all around and sacred geometry and great music, by the way. Feeling like, okay, I get the sense here. He's made it so I can meditate really well. And that's what this magic is. It's just a meditation session. But then I started to go really deep, really fast. And I almost felt a little bit alarmed. Like I told Grace when my first session happened, I knew I was like feeling my body relax and melt into the chair. And then the chair melted into the floor. And that's okay, I guess. But then the chair and the floor were bubbling and swirling. And we were going to be falling to the center of the earth. And I was like, whoa, Dr. Joe, I almost called out, come in and turn this thing down.
Oh my God.
I didn't call out to him. And the reason is right when I was getting to sort of like a little bit of a panic place, like I'm going too far, too fast. I had this astral travel experience, which was my first time to ever have that, to where I knew I wasn't dreaming. And I wasn't imagining it because this angel appeared on my right, this angel appeared on my left. They caught me from that fall to the center of the earth. We took flight. We had the G forces of curving our path and flying up into the cosmos. And then I remember thinking, oh, I'm dreaming. And then replying like, you're not dreaming. And I'm like, that's different. That's unique. So we had this tour of the cosmos, and I remember asking, here is why I'm here. Can you help me with my anxiety? I'm struggling and suffering and really being just in a terrible place each morning as soon as I wake up till I close my eyes at night. And they told me that I could help me with that anxiety. They were there to help me, that I could help me. And they talked about like the higher self and that I was safe and that what's the biggest fear. And so we walked through some mental exercises of like, are you afraid of dying? There is no death. Are you afraid of this? You know, and I started to feel lighter. And when I came out of that session, I told Dr. Joe, how often can we come back? Can we do this? Like, he said, you could come twice a day if you'd like. And I know y'all are in town for the weekend. So Rachel's got an appointment tomorrow morning too. I'm like, can we come back tonight? And then tomorrow and tomorrow night? We did 4 sessions in one weekend.
Oh my gosh.
I'm surprised you're still on the earth.
I know, right? Surprised you could live in society after that.
I know. I'm still in 3D world. That was not the plan. But as we drove back from Virginia to Charlotte, I was convinced we were going to be bringing a Tachyon chamber to Charlotte. And I didn't think it would be me. I thought I would just be planting seeds, helping my physician was curious about this stuff. Maybe she'll open one. My chiropractor, maybe my hypnotherapist or acupuncture. Nobody in Charlotte was really going gangbusters about Tachyon because they hadn't heard of it. They hadn't felt it. They just had, Adrienne, like a happy little golden retriever jumping in the corner. And so I remember feeling frustration maybe 3 months after asking everyone I know, would you open a Tachyon chamber? And I went to prayer, I went to source and I said, if this is supposed to be me that does this Tachyon chamber, can you just make it ridiculously easy? And that's when things started changing and moving and happening in the world, that a Tachyon chamber came to life in Charlotte. It was finding an investor who wanted to see this technology come to our city, who put down 90% of the funding, and I only had to come up with 10%. Wow. And also finding a room to host it. And I had a full-time job, so I was just going to have clients come in evenings and weekends, but finding people who wanted to serve as chamber guides and host other clients, it just fell into place so beautifully. And I think this consciousness called Tachyon was at work in me the whole time, guiding and introducing, and all the synchronicities happened just like clockwork.
Yeah. And it's funny how it lines up that way, right? Like it's through a friend, right? Like, and we're like, oh, there's reasons why we're connected to that friend. And there's reasons why that friend wanted me to go on the road trip with them. Like you see all of the like, this is how the web works.
Yes. And if we're not paying attention, I do think that we can miss little moments and opportunities that they'll circle back around to us,
Yes,
but
they will.
maybe with a lot more suffering and a lot more time lapse.
Yes, which is generally how Grace and I do it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Circling back around.
Well, we're back here again, and I see it differently this time.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's the surrender. Okay. Now that we've seen it, the signier signs are here. We'll just go ahead and do it. We're done. Yeah.
You two are on the scenic route. You're just
Yeah.
seeing more scenery.
Yeah. We keep going back to the same place though. So but I think too is that, I think it talks a lot about surrender, right? When we interpret things, and I think it's like the belief, like how, when we're given that sense of mission and we think that we're not cornerstone of the mission other than just talking about it, when we realize that, oh, we're the mission, holy crap, wait a minute, I'm the mission, I'm the one that has to do this, how are we really, it's like this surrender. And when we surrender into it, they're like, oh, you finally get it, here you go, this is all the stuff you need, thank you. It's like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, just had to open up to it, right? Like there's that closed door, and sometimes we don't even know that we've closed the door, right? Like, and I feel like that's that situation that you're describing of I don't even see the door. Like the door's behind me. It's not even in my periphery. It's behind me. I can't see it. It's not even there, right? And it's like that universal turning you. I mean, nobody can see this as as I'm doing this with my hands, of just like gently turning us around, like, ooh, what's that door about, right? Like, so that we'll be curious enough to do it.
Oh, amen. And Vanessa, there's a story that actually illustrates that well. The night I said that prayer and said, all right, God, I will be obedient if you just make it ridiculously easy, because I'm a single mom, full-time job. I don't have the time or money for this. That next morning I'm walking my dog in the neighborhood, saw the same other person, my neighbor, Andrea, we pass all the time, her dog, my dog are friends. And she said to me, hey, are you looking for a room to rent? And I was thinking she might have like converted her house into an Airbnb or something. I'm like, no, sister, I live here. Remember, that's my house down the street. She said, no, like a room for some sort of meditation chair. And I'm like, oh, how did you know about that? I had never mentioned it to her. She's a muggle. She does not believe in the magic. And she said, well, here's how I found out. We go to the same chiropractor, and I was getting adjusted yesterday. And Dr. Jenny said to me, and Adrienne's, she was hoping to put that Tachyon Chamber here in my spare room. And that conversation unflowed. So when she saw me, she said, room to rent. I was like, so, okay, cool. Why, you got a room for me to rent? She said, no, but my massage therapist has a room that's empty in her building, and it's for rent. There's a sign on the door. You should call her. Here's her number. And boom. The next morning.
Love it. I got like full body chills, like even my face is doing it, which is like such beautiful resonance. 100%, right? Like, and because you opened the door and you said like, you're gonna have to make this so easy because I'm gonna make it so complicated. Like just wow, like make it like hit me right in the face, like kind of gently. Oh, I love that story. Right?
Yeah,
like
but that word surrender.
Oh.
Surrender came first, and then the things started to happen. But I was really resisting. And like you said, the door was behind me. All those months I was knocking on doors of other people.
But I think, it all happens in the timing and the way that it's supposed to, because I think with everything, when we're in a space of like, just, I don't want to say desperation, but the urgency has increased because of the lack of reception or the lack of like anyone else willing to do it. And when the desire and the knowing is so great and it becomes so intense and so urgent, that there is a place of like, fine, I'll do it. You just have to make this easy. Okay. And then it's like, okay, thank God she figured it out. But I think too, is that when we are in that urgency and we are in that knowing and we're in that heart, we know that it has to happen, but the belief in it increases the more urgent it gets. And so that we tend to let our doubts, let all the things that are generally in the way of doing what we're here to do show up. We kind of it just dissipates because we're like, it doesn't matter what happens or how it needs to be done. And so I think that it's like the divine timing thing. I mean, it's used too much and it's an irritating concept with some of us, but it's all in that sense of like, there needs to be an energy that has to happen in order for the catalyst and the transformation of it happening. So it's just, I think sometimes we see everything. It's like, we were just talking about boundaries and anger, like anger, and the boundaries created from anger are because something has become so urgent that we need to make a change or a shift because everything's on fire. So it's kind of, the same way on the other side of it. Like when we're knowing that this has to happen and this light has to come into the world and no one else has taken the bait, then that's up to you. It's like, okay, maybe me.
Yeah.
So it's beautiful. It's beautiful. I love it.
Plus, I love what you said about, jokingly, we take the scenic route, but sometimes, right, isn't the scenic route preparing us more? And isn't it teaching us and introducing us? And so I don't know if there is the long way around, maybe every way.
It's the way, right?
way.
Like it's the way for it to be comfortable, right? Like, so that's what I feel like, like when I look back to, when you look back and you go, yeah, if that was handed to me, then I would have dropped it 100%, right? Like, cause I didn't have belief in it or I didn't have skills to hold it, you know what I mean? But while I'm waiting for it, I don't have that knowledge, right? Like it's that knowledge that you gain later of going, you know what? The scenic route was the only one for me because I couldn't take the straight shot. I was going to drop the ball or, like it was going to be too much for me, right? Like an overload of my system is going to make me shut down. So why would that be the answer? That's never going to be the answer, right? Like we can know we're on the scenic route and kind of ask ourselves, like, all right, I'll take a straighter one, right? Because I'm sick of the scenic route. But it's that openness, right? Like, and I feel like even with that story that you were talking about of saying, I was looking for the sign. So when the sign came, I could see the sign. And I think that that's the thing, right? Like, is that it helps us believe when we're in that space, right? Like, whereas if we're not really asking for a sign and we're still kind of in contemplation, we're not going to, when somebody says, oh, do you need a room to rent? Fear comes in, right? Like, and then we can't, then it has to be this big, brave decision. And like, we're panicking. But when you've asked for a sign and somebody comes and says, do you have a room? You're like, yeah, right. Like you're just like, you're willing to accept it. And the fear is more like, wow, alignment, like, so fear doesn't happen because it's alignment. We can only be in alignment if we're looking to be in alignment, right? Like we're already like somewhat on that path. So I love that. So like, when we talk about like the things, your personal story being, hey, I had like this deep anxiety and I was looking for, it was kind of like Grace was saying, like this desperation, like, sure, I'll try it, like whatever. What kind of things do you feel like people come to you most for, or how certain things in life? Because I feel like that's what people are going to be asking when they're listening to this. Like, this sounds cool, but like, how does this work?
Yeah, give me some examples. So I think the first year, I've been open for business 3 years, and the first year, a lot of the arrivals were friends and family, just curious and also supporting me. So mom, dad, come take a spin in the Tachyon Chamber. I don't know about that, Adrienne, but we'll try it. But
then, as critics, to be honest.
Oh my gosh.
Like starting out with these people who don't really know or care is like,
yes. But they both had a very relaxing, and I think Tachyon is like Reiki, where, if you have a resistant client who just won't let any of your Reiki skills permeate their, levels and layers of their body, then, you're not going to get in. Tachyon's not going to get in and be able to. So I think my dad had more resistance than my mom, blah, blah, blah. But that was year one. In year two, I had a few folks who started to find me because of pain, and they were having body pain because of arthritis. Okay. And one of my chamber guides, she's 77-year-old. She's an angel. Her name is Mary, and she absolutely found relief from her arthritis pain and started becoming a regular. And now, as a chamber guide, people were finding me for irritable bowel syndrome, for migraines, for lupus, for different things. And then I would say in year 3, it's been more emotional stuff, like PTSD and grief. They lost a spouse, they lost a child, they lost a pet. They're finding me for, depression and just more emotional stuff. And then lately, this is my most exciting thing. People are using the Tachyon Chamber to elevate their psychic gifts and amplify and accelerate those gifts, because we all have them. And then they're finding that it sparks something and it thins the veil, and they're coming out and they're little, moments of paying attention and observing that synchronicity and that synchronicity. And I think maybe I'm supposed to say this to this person, and then it works out beautifully. That's affirmation, and it feeds their journey and their spiritual awakening. So the psychic gifts thing is my favorite, but the 4 levels would be physical, mental, emotional, and then spiritual.
I love that. I mean, it's like everything, right? Like it sounds like it can do anything, and that makes sense, right? Like, because it's energetic, and we are energy, like it would make sense that like everything is possible to, I don't want to say manipulate, but I guess that's what most people connect to, right? Like, is manipulating our energy to be in better alignment, or to release something that, some other energy that we don't want in there, and replacing it. So I like that. I mean, and I think people need to hear that, right? Because again, like when it feels woo-woo out there, we're like, all right, so I sit in this room and I melt into the floor, and angels come and talk to me. Why would I do this, right? This feels a little terrifying and or just weird, right? Like, how does it work in my life? So, those real life examples of saying like, this is how it can work, or this is how, these are the relief, the things that get relieved from using a technology like this. It's exactly like what you talked about with Wi-Fi. And I mean, most people don't know how the chiropractor is doing what the chiropractor is doing, but we just let them, right? Because we understand that you get what my spine's supposed to do, and you're going to like do your magic.
And that chiropractor metaphor, I believe, is one of my most handy ones for people super grounded in 3D world, but they're at least open to alternative medicine like chiropractic. And if they've experienced chiropractic care, chiropractors have been a lifesaver for me for many different times of life. But now I recognize how important it is to do maintenance with a chiropractor. And so I kind of love this phrase. It's like a chiropractic adjustment. The Tachyon Chamber is kind of like a chiropractic adjustment for your soul. Brings you into alignment energetically, and then everything can happen because your soul can do everything. You can create the life that you want in all these dimensions.
I love that.
Yeah. And and for those who are out there and are like, well, from experience, I've been there. I've introduced Tachyon many, many moons ago, but to do a chamber session was recent. It doesn't matter if you have any connection to a spiritual authority. It doesn't matter if you're like, I am like hardcore atheist. Like, it doesn't matter. You're not going to go in and have an experience that is not of your highest good. See, that's the key. I think that most people need to understand is that not everybody gets the same energy. You get the energy that is tailored to you and what you need, and what is for your highest good. That's the big key. It's like when we're doing a hollow bone session, everything is for our highest good. You're not going to be given anything that's going to blow your circuits out, or like create something that is like harming to you, or you're not going to have an experience that you're going to have PTSD from. This is not something of that nature. It isn't a one size fits all where, like we were just talking about the doctors and how some doctors are so textbook that they don't look at the actual person and what the nuance of the person is. Yeah. Working with energy and working with like the Tachyon Chamber and this type of energy is tailored to you specifically and to what your intention is for that moment. And it would never be something that is harmful because it is for our highest good. That's the whole thing. I think, and one of the biggest keys to understand, your experience is going to be different from Joe's next door or my experience or anybody else's experience. It's all individual. It's all tailored to you and your energy and what you need in this moment. And it's not directed by another human. That's the thing, is that when it gets shitty, when things go south, it's because a human has entered the chat with their agenda. That's when treatments like this go south, is because another 3D human thinks they know what to do and it's not them. That's when things go south.
Yes.
Sorry.
No,
Like,
no,
no
like we were like,
yes. So when you think about this thing, it's not about Adrienne doesn't sit there and do, and she facilitates the session, but she isn't the one directing the energy. She
Mhm.
isn't the one that's manipulating the energy to work for you, and it's not her agenda. She is like, I'm gonna facilitate and get you in the best comfortable position, the best comfortable space. We're gonna set the intention. I'm gonna leave the room and let the energy do the job. The energy knows what to do. That's the thing. That's the beauty of this, is that it's not about a 3D human thinking they know how to heal you when they have no idea who you are. So I want to throw that out there, because I think, I've had conversations recently about some people who are just reluctant about anything energy because of that reason. And because there are people out there who instill their agenda into sessions that have no business in doing. And I just think that it's important for people to understand that this is tailor-made. This is tailored to what you are, where you're at. It meets you where you're at, and takes your intention, and it gives you what you need in order to to come out of it with the intention you have set. So just know that. Just know that in your heart, that this is not risky. This is not something that you have to fear. It's totally tailor-based to what you need specifically.
Oh my God.
That's so beautifully said. I'm so glad we're recording this. And I got to thinking about how we talk about Tachyon as an intelligence and a consciousness. And that's how it's working. It's not some robot running a program. Same
Mhm.
recipe for every soul that arrives. It's truly connecting
Love
to
that.
you.
Yeah, and that's what's so hard, right? Like, so I mean, I feel like maybe some people who are listening get that what we said at the beginning of feels like a stretch to call it consciousness, because what we know of consciousness as 3D beings is our brain. That's what we think, right? Like, so when we're talking about conscious, we're thinking awake in our bodies, right? So if I go unconscious, it means I'm, sleeping, right? And so my brain's not working and I'm not aware of what's going on. But the idea of consciousness in a spiritual sense is a little bit different. It's just the same word. And I think that people really get hung up on that. They just hate, like, that word doesn't mean the same thing in my brain as what you're talking about. So I can't get it. Right. But it's really just that energy that is there. Right. And just, you can grasp at it the same way that, if a person walks by me, I can feel that they're there, even if I can't see them. Right. And I could reach out if I wanted to touch them, but I don't have to.
Yeah.
Beautifully put. And yeah, it's a tough concept to grasp. And I love the way that you've elucidated that in words.
Yeah. I sit with a lot of people, right? Like, we talk about words all the time, right? Like, so I watch how people get hung up on things, right? And especially when, you're being an intuitive counselor and it comes in sometimes, and I watch people's faces as they get confused. And, we talk about, well, what part of it are you not connecting to? So I'm glad that we're like, kind of dipping into all these different ways of calling the consciousness a thing that maybe people can connect to, right? Like with Grace saying, like, you just go in there and it's like the energy that's there for you, right? Like, it's just quieting the noise outside so that whatever's going on with you can be met and then elevated, whatever that means. It can mean a momentous moment, like, you were describing, Adrienne, or maybe it's a smaller shift for somebody because they can't handle a momentous moment, but it's still for them.
Like an hour of peace, right? An hour of just shutting the outside world, everything that's bombarding the senses, and giving somebody an hour of peace to help them begin to learn to widen their window of tolerance of their nervous system, right? It's that respite. Sometimes it's respite care, because sometimes people are so maxed out that they need respite care, which right now is like, it's the perfect time to try, because the thing of it is that, our nervous systems, in nervous systems, we have windows of tolerance, and that gets shorter and shorter and shorter the more things we're bombarded with. And some of the things with the nervous system is that it's not, yes, it's about regulating it, but it's aiding the body in regulating it, because our nervous system is designed to regulate itself in some ways. And so when we talk about regulating, it's not up to us to do all the work, but if we support our physical bodies in that regulation, meaning have times of peace, have times of, desensitizing and getting out of social media, getting out of the world and the news and the people around us and the needs that people have of us, and giving ourselves the peace, it helps us adjust energetically to cope. And so beginning to open that window of tolerance, which is why, something I want to talk about, because I would love to share my experience in the chamber and, and my thoughts, because I think, and yes, I'm an energy worker. I'm in the woo field, and I work with angels and energies all the time. And, and I think too, is that when you go into an experience, I think it's good to not have expectation of what you're going to experience. Yeah. Because that's where I used to get tripped up in things. I'd get so excited and I'd want the experience I wanted to have, and I wouldn't have it. And I'd just be deflated. And I would be like, well, I didn't have it. Something must be wrong with me. No, it's nothing to do with that. And so when we release the expectation of what could happen, we're opening ourselves up to what wants to happen. And one of the things that I experience, going into the chamber, I'm always like, I'm generally working on something. Like there's always a project internally that is happening, like connection to my body. I'm working with this part and, trauma therapy, and I'm working here, and there's always something happening within me. Yeah. And so, when I went in, my intent is because I'm rebuilding this connection with my physical body and trying to connect with it and create safety and trust between me, my adult self, and the energy and the part that is my body. And, and some of the things that, and I always will ask, because this is what we do in the Hollow Bone. And I found it to be so miraculous sometimes. And I'm always just like, and whatever's for my highest good, right? Because sometimes if we're in the shit, we don't know what's for our highest good. We just want to be out of it. Like, it's like, we don't know that we need something more than what we think is the answer, because we obviously don't know the answer if we're still in the space that we're in.
It's like the obvious thing. It's like, that we can't reach in the moment somehow.
If I'm still in it, obviously I haven't found the solution, and walking into something like that thinking I have the solution doesn't necessarily, I don't think so. But that's me. So it's always asking for that and more, the highest good, something that the invisible and the unknown of what we're not seeing that we need in that moment. And I can't tell, to be honest with you, I don't remember what happened specifically in the session, but I do know that when I went in, because there's a lot of Flower of Life, Metatron's Cube, and I work often with Metatron. I teach sacred geometry of Metatron. It's very akin to my being. And so for safety, my two angels that I work with commonly, especially within myself, is my Archangel Michael and Metatron. And, and I invited them both in. And I was thinking, oh, I should open up like I do in the Hollow Bone. And something was like, no, girl. Because when I do that, I'm always going out with the energy, right? When I'm opening up, I'm receiving and going out with the energy. But I do know that it gave me many things happen. I saw many things. I had many conversations. But what occurred to me was they were all just focusing me away from what I was receiving, because I have a tendency to like analyze. I want to experience it. What is this? I have curiosity. I'm like, totally curiosity killed the cat. And I really kind of had this feeling of, yeah, well, we're going to focus your conscious mind over here because you're too excited about this whole thing. And because you're excited, you're not like, let's focus you on this thing over here. And
you're losing your surrender, man.
Yeah. So it was a distraction tactic, because I know me, but and it was funny because I think back to when, after the session and Adrienne and I were talking, like there was a stream of consciousness that was just happening. And I was just talking. I swear to God, she was like, I got to go in 10 minutes. And I'm like, oh, okay. Because I could have kept talking. There was this stream of consciousness. Like I was downloading whatever was available to download in that moment, that my freaking brain, my crown center was just so open. And I was like, oh my God, like a flood of conversation. Like anybody needed information, I could have given it to you that moment, because I was so open to whatever was happening. And even going home, I was like, oh wow. But what I think was important is, and I think this is a gut feeling for me in this, is that your first session is always going to be a little bit like, oh my God, what's going to happen? This is great. Or, oh my God, like you're kind of like jacked up a little bit, not in a bad way, but in a kind of, I'm excited and there's so much nervous energy or energy that's happening outside that it takes a minute for you to connect with what and relax into it, right? Because it did. For me, it took a minute to relax into what the experience versus being like, an excited puppy for a minute, being like, oh my God, we get to do this. And so if anything, if you ever try one, I highly recommend doing it twice, because I think after having the first experiment, well, I think even longer than twice, but if you're not sure, just commit to 2 times, because what I find is the first time there's so much happening and unknown that sometimes it's hard to be relaxed in the moment. And the second time I feel that I will have soon, that I just feel that it's the time of, I know what's going to happen. My nervous system knows has an expectation. I have an expectation. All of my parts have an expectation. There is an understanding of what will happen. And now I can just be into it in my truest form without that outside fluff energy that is happening, which is fair. And maybe some people can go into it and have a 1 session and be totally like magnificent. That's amazing. But I know me, because I know my nervous system and I know how I work. And so sometimes and I'm an energy worker. So to have that, I'm sure people that are not connected to energy in the way I am would have a similar situation, because I'm still a 3D body. And so I still experience things in the 3D. And so, but I also think is that, and one of the things in the future, like I'm kind of excited to kind of try out too with the Tachyon Chamber is, having a massage and then going into the chamber. Like you're already relaxed, you're in a relaxed state, the energy is kind of dialed down a bit. You're in this like Zen state. It's like, how would that feel in coordination with it? And that's something that in the future that I want to try. But I think also, it's, if you're working on something, if you're working on something that is big for you. For example, Vanessa and I were having a conversation earlier about how some of the physical stuff I'm experiencing is in alignment to what my parents have or are experiencing. And I got the hit the other day, and I'm like, I am not healing their shit through my body. Like I am like, oh, full stop, hell to the no. And I was like, no, thank you. And I'm like, okay, it's not that I'm not having the physical experience, because I am, but what part of my DNA, what part of my body, and that, what did they call it? I forget the name of it. Oh,
is it epigenetics?
Yes, that's it. I was like, yes, it's E something. It's epigenetics. It's like when we're learning the sacred geometry, one of the things we talk about is the DNA and the epigenetics, and how our family of origin, whenever something has happened in their life, right, a certain age, their children or their grandchildren will experience PTSD or something similar what they experienced, because it's in their DNA, right? And so one of the things that, and I've been trying to calculate when my dad had his motorcycle accident, because the issue in my spine is right near where his spinal cord was severed. And so it's like, I'm just hell-bent on disconnecting and like ripping up that contract or ripping up that agreement, because that is not what I'm here to do. And so and so I think when you have something like that, something big you're working on, something kind of like, oh, this is happening. It can be for small things. It can be for relaxation. It can be for like, I need some assistive energy in order to do this, because I don't know exactly how to handle it on my own, right? Because healing happens in a relationship. And even if you're a healer, you need healers to heal you, because it's hard to heal yourself when you're in the vibration you're in. You can do it, but it's not easy. And so it's like taking something like that and going in and either, not wanting to like reject it, because a part of me is like, get it out of me. But a part of me is like, no, I want to heal it. I want to heal it because my body is designed the way that it's designed, right? I don't want to reject something that's within me, because it's my body and it's what it is. And I'm not trying to reject the pain and the issues that I'm having. I want to understand it, give it what it needs in order to be healed within my physical body, and not needing to heal energetically my parents. And so it's coming from a space of, rather than I just need it out of me, it's like, no, I need it to be transmuted out of me, like healed, loved, transmuted. That's how I approach research. Yeah, just give it what it needs in order to not be a thing, right? It's like a part. When we're doing IFS in therapy, we don't go and gaslight that part and say, okay, you need to go because I'm rejecting you. We go in with discovery, of validating, of discovering what its burden is. Why do you feel this? What is your pain? What are you experiencing? And we give it what it needs to transmute it, right? To give it, to make it feel safe, because the body doesn't feel safe. And when we having physical manifestations of our emotional issues or our, anything that's our trauma, then the body needs to feel safe. That's the first step in any healing, is to feel safe in doing what you're doing to heal. I'm going to go on. Sorry, I'm really long-winded about this, but one of the things I think in Tachyon is that don't do a one and done. Don't base your first experience off of what it can do for you. Go for a second try. Try it again. I promise. And I've only had it one time. So, for me to say that, to know that intuitively that no, you need to go for another one to understand I don't want to say its purpose, but how it can help you. What is the purpose of its tool in your life? How can you use this in your life to create whatever you're desiring, whatever you're looking to heal or create? So yeah, that's my experience. It was really amazing. It was really cool. And I, if anything, like I said, it was an hour of peace. No distractions. There was no phones. There was no TV. There was no work. There was no nothing. It was just me, the energy, angels, Metatron. And that was all it was. And it was beautiful because I didn't have to hurry it up. I committed to that hour. I didn't have to hurry up because I had to do something else, or my to-do list wasn't burning in me. And I was just like, okay. So yeah, anyways.
Yeah. That's the draw for me, is that I'm like, I'm going to be forced to do it because I'll be there for an hour. Whereas if I go into my little, this is my office / meditation room, I can just make it 30 minutes or 15 minutes and then go do some stuff. Right. But there was something that I feel like was like a theme in what you were talking about that I want to, hopefully Adrienne can help us out with this, because it was like that idea of the expectation. And I mean, I'm ready, and I'm pretty sure a couple months ago, I met somebody who has one of these in Lexington, because I remember, or not in Lexington, it's in Midway. We went there for a fairy festival. It's the only store we really went into. Everything else we were kind of not interested in. And she gave me a tour, and I'm pretty sure that that's the room that I saw. I just didn't get it. Right. Or something or there was something. So anyway, no, that was a scalar room that I went in. But so I remember sitting and talking, and she was saying lots of this stuff. And I was kind of like, this is resonating, but not quite enough for me. And so that's why I never went back. But now I'm seeing how this connectivity is here. But you had said about that expectation. And part of me almost immediately said, well, of course, spiritual people we're way too excited about anything that can transcend, right? Because we get it, we've done it, we experienced it. We're like, hell yes, let's do another. So I feel like even sometimes a person who's not even really attached to spirituality might have an easier time in their first session because they might be more casual about it. And
Can I interject?
So how do you help people like us who just, we need to just experience it and not do the expectation thing?
So thank you for this beautiful setup. I feel like we're in volleyball and you just did the bump and the set and the spike. Because when you talked about dropping expectations, Grace, I think the reason I was able to travel so deep in my first is I was a skeptic. I didn't have much expectations. Seeing my friend's face glowing, I'm like, okay, this will be fun. What's the worst that could happen? But my second experience in the Tachyon Chamber that night, I felt like I got a big goose egg zero experience. I went in with so much expectation. I was going to dance with the angels and see my friends and da-da-da. And I just sat in that chamber and thought, Dr. Joe, did you turn this thing on? Is this even on? It was the biggest disappointment. And if Rachel wouldn't have had that appointment for that third one, I may not have gone back because it was amazing, terrible. And then the third one was kind of again, more and the fourth one was between number 1 and 3. So it's all over the map, sometimes very visual, sometimes a lot of senses are coming through, like you're smelling and you're feeling. I could feel I have 2 beautiful pets who've transitioned over the Rainbow Bridge. And one time I was on the trail hiking with them in the Tachyon Chamber, in my mind in another dimension. And I could feel one of them pulling on the leash, how they always did, and the other one pulling me to the side. But the expectation thing is beautiful. So Grace, when you set the stage by saying, try to drop all expectations and let your experience be what your experience will be, beautiful. And then coming back more than once, like Dr. Joe McNamara, who was my first time, he's a medical doctor who retired from being an emergency room physician and then a general care practitioner, and opened this Tachyon Chamber, the first one that opened in America. He told me, Adrienne, it's going to take between 3 to 5 sessions to get you really good and aligned through Tachyon. So a one and done is, some people do it and then that's fine. But if you're here for the weekend, try to come for like 3 to 5 sessions. So when we put 4 in the weekend, it was good. If we had had more luxury of, come and go, we probably would have spaced them out like 3 to 5 days between each session. And I tell my clients that, if they've bought a package of 3 or a package of 6, let your intuition guide you on when it's time to come back, because there is no set formula, like every week come back. I just think a few right at the beginning to get you in that alignment, and then it's a cumulative effect. And so the more Tachyon you absorb, it's definitely amplifying the effect. I carry these Tachyon rods around with me. I'm holding up, like they look like magic wands. They're heavy. Grace held them. They're like a pound or 2 each. And inside is shungite, and it's a stone that has been programmed to emit the Tachyon field, not just to hold it and let it diminish over time. It actually generates the Tachyon field. But 3 to 5 sessions is a great starting zone. And then the other thing that I wanted to mention to you guys is when you talked about the Scalar Center. So in Charlotte, we have like 3 to 4 different Scalar centers, and they've been around technology since the 1950s. And I asked the people who manufactured the Tachyon Chamber, how does this compare to Scalar? And they're like, oh, it's very similar, just amplified. So Scalar is a 0-point energy. When you're in the room, you will feel the tingles, especially when you're more sensitive to energy, or the more you go. And people spend like a 2-hour session or a 4-hour session or a 6 or 8 overnight session. And it's beautiful, and they exist. And I want you to go visit them if you're listening to these words and you don't have a Tachyon Chamber near you, or you don't want to do a remote session. But Scalar, what it would take maybe 2 hours in a Scalar center to do, it'll take about 20 minutes in a Tachyon Chamber, just because it's the new version of 0-point energy that our bodies assimilate a little bit quicker and a little bit faster.
That makes sense, right? Like, because as we discover stuff and as we, work on them, right? Like we have the ability to like go deeper, right? Like, and that's what it feels like, right? Like, because when you were talking about it at first, my brain did like the sports thing and was like, oh, it's Scalar on steroids. Right?
Beautiful. Yeah.
But I see it as like a depth thing, right? Like of like, here's how deep we could go, right? Like, and so we develop technology to help people, and now we can figure out how to go deeper, right? Like, so that it becomes more accelerated, or just absorbs better, right? Like, I mean, we do this in lots of different ways, right? Like we make lotions that absorb faster, but it started with lotions that didn't absorb that fast. So I like this, right? And I'm glad that I brought that up, because I recognize that I was like, it was Scalar. I'm pretty sure it was Scalar. So it's not Tachyon, but there might be people, like you said, that are like, there's a technology that might be like that. Should I just skip it? Like, no, please don't.
Yeah. And I like to look at light work and medicine, frequency and energy medicine is like all different kinds of food on a buffet. And some people are going to gravitate towards the hamburgers, and some people are like, no, I'm all about pasta. And that's why I'm like, if your thing is acupuncture, like do that on a regular basis and gift yourself that. And don't be closed-minded to everything else. It's just try things and choose what works for you in this time of life.
Get curious about things. Don't be afraid of things. And like we always say on the podcast, trust your intuition. If you want to try something and you go in and you're like, shit's off, you just leave. You say, I'm sorry, I don't feel good about this, and I don't think I want to do this. You have that right to do that. In mid-session, if you're like, something is not right, you say, we need to stop the session. I need to leave. I'm not okay. And if they start to try to convince you hardcore, just say, I am not okay with this, and you leave, man. You have that autonomy. You don't have to experience, if you're in a tachyon chamber and like 45 minutes in and you're just like, wow, and you could even feel complete. I think for me, after 40 minutes to 50 minutes, I was in that stage where I was kind of just experiencing the energy, because everything that happened had already happened. Like I was just like, everything that needed to happen was complete. I was just basking in the energy, right? I was like, I was out in the sun, kind of just being in the energy. And so,
which is important, right? Like we don't just grab and go. Like sitting with it is great.
So just know that, try things, get curious, be like, oh my God, that's so cool. But always know you have the autonomy of choice. You have the sovereignty of choice, because that is the thing, is that just because someone is an expert in something or someone is an expert in what they're doing doesn't necessarily mean it's aligned with you. It doesn't mean that that's exactly what you need. If you're experiencing something and you're like, this isn't good, I don't feel good about this, then you stop it. You end it. You just end it, because it just means that something is not okay with it. And you don't want to create this idea, this negative belief around what you're experiencing, because it just may not be the time. You have to trust your body, and you have to trust your intuition when things don't feel well. And sometimes you just need a little bit of encouragement and a little bit of hand holding. But if you're hardcore no, you be a hardcore no, and you end whatever it is you're experiencing. But be curious, man, because there are so many things in this world that help us that people are afraid of because people don't understand it. So get curious, have like conversation with people, talk with people. I mean, I knew about the Tachyon Chamber because I see Tracy, which is the massage therapist that has the place where she does the tachyon. So I've seen it. And it was just like one day I was like, oh, I wonder, I got curious. And then we had a conversation, and it wasn't until like weeks later that I was like, hey, and I reached out to her, and then, shit happens. And another 2 weeks go by because like life, right? Life was lifing. But it was perfect. It was just perfect in the way that it happened. But, again, curiosity is so important in the things, because maybe it's the game changer that helps you heal beyond where you're at, and makes you feel, gives you that one thing, and you don't know it until you've experienced it. And take everybody's experience as like food for thought, but yours will be completely different. Absolutely.
Yes. Well, I would love to make an offer to your listeners, because we talked about what would be some ways that we could encourage people to follow their curiosity. And with your blessing, I set up on my website a promo code, and it's Angel20. So if they type in the word Angel20, they're going to save 20% off a remote tachyon session. So the normal price is $111 or $111. This brings it back to $88.80, which is quite nice numerology too. And it's just an easy way to try it. And I will offer a money back guarantee. So if people are done with their session and they're like, Adrienne, I did not get $88.80 worth, I will honor that. That was what Dr. Joe had offered me. He said, if you don't feel that this is, worth your investment of time, energy, and money, then I will refund your money. And that's how confident he was that this was going to be something that would be a great tool for me.
Awesome. Yeah. That is so great. Where can they get that?
So the way to find me online is to truly type in the URL. The website address is torchbearertachyon.com, and I'll spell it out. TORCH, like let's carry the torch. Bearer is BEARER, and then tachyon is TACHYON. So the full website address is torchbearertachyon.com. But if they're forgetting the exact name, they can also type in, Tachyon Chamber in Charlotte, North Carolina, and that should get them there too. I do all the socials, but not very well. It's something that I'm definitely leaning into my discomfort, and trying to get better at that. But there is a lot of beautiful Google reviews. I have over 90 now of people who have left their feelings, impressions, thoughts, and remembrances on Google for their first tachyon session. So that's a beautiful blessing too.
That's so beautiful. And before we go, which I feel like I'm like, ah, damn it. Like, I wish I'd done this before, but like I'd forgotten because we were in conversation and I was legitimately like just lost in it. We didn't talk about the difference between in-person and remote. And I definitely feel like anybody who was listening right now was like, how on earth does this happen remotely? Because I'm feeling the like go in and sit in the, like, because again, I'm isolated. I went to the place. I've committed to it. So like, how does it work remotely?
Sure. So I'll paint the picture first. Imagine that you drove to Charlotte, North Carolina, and I was like, come on in, Vanessa. It's a 12-foot by 12-foot room. And the chair in the middle is a reclining chair that goes back to like 0-point gravity, and that you're going to be no pressure on your spine. It's going to just recline back to this really beautiful cradle position. And the chair itself has this vibrating function and feature. It has nothing to do with Tachyon in that I just added some vibro acoustics. So you're listening to music, that part's yummy. You've got the vibration in the chair, that part's yummy. But all of the Tachyon stuff is working regardless of if you have the vibration or the music. There is a smell in the room. If people are not averse to smell, I've got some high vibration Tachyon aura and chamber spray. And there's also like blankets, like you get cozy on top of a Tachyon mat, under a Tachyon mat. There's a little Tachyon pillow behind your neck. There's a Tachyon eye mask. The headphones, you're holding onto the 2 rods. I'm just kind of painting the picture of how you're just encased like a Tachyon burrito. And then your journey begins. So there's a little bit of setup time, just a few minutes. We say a prayer, we set your intention, build a bubble of protective light around you. And I leave the room. I ring a bell, start your ceremony, and I leave the room. And it's you and your higher power, all your guides and angels. Some people have lots of visitors, like galactic starseed family and ancestors that walk in the light, and animal guardians and all kinds of visitors. But it's truly them and their higher spirit, their higher power, source, working on whatever, like Grace said, your best and highest good. They may come in and say, today I'm here for my left ankle. I got to get, that pain gone. And they may be revealed something else and know it's more pressing that you work on your anger at your sister. So we'll see that happen. When the bell rings again, that's the signal that Adrienne's come back in the room. I've come back in. The session is over. It's been 45 minutes that have elapsed. We bring you back to the upright position and get you grounded. Sometimes people take a walk outside in the grass or have some herbal tea, just kind of to get grounded. Grace and I really both were feeding off of each other's energy. And when she was in the chamber and
Gemini energy.
We both were, I totally felt like we were Tachyon stoned, and we were just riffing on ideas and collaborations and blah, blah, blah. So I painted the picture of what an in-person session looks like, but let me paint a picture for what a remote session looks like. So in this case, instead of it sort of being a 45-minute packet of Tachyon immersion, it's 60 minutes. I encourage the person to pick the date and the time where they can have some space in their home, or a comfortable, nook where they can just nest in under blankets, maybe light a candle, sage, Palo Santo, whatever can feel ceremonially like you're preparing for your healing. If they have the time and if possible to write their intention down and just to put it under their pillow while they're in session, but they don't need to do that. They can even just text me, because I am going to kind of program the Tachyon packet to arrive like, hey, you're headed to Australia. We're going to Sydney, Australia. Today's target is Thomas Gilmore, and it's going to be hitting him local Sydney time, Saturday, 2 p.m. So it's all really just programmed to be for Thomas at that moment, at that time. I have a photograph of Thomas that he's provided for me. That photo is labeled with his name. It's labeled with his, location, and it's put into the Tachyon Chamber. And it's just symbolic. It's just kind of what is it called when it's serving proxy, I guess, for Thomas, because Tachyon doesn't need time or space. It's going to go and work in him, in his dimension, wherever he is in the planet. And so his session, I've sent people a music bed mix. I 99% of the time always send the same exact music track because it works really well remotely. But then sometimes my intuition has stepped up and said, oh, no, for Hannah, and she's in Canada, she's going to need this music track. So sometimes there's little recipe changes. But at the end of the hour, I encourage them, fall asleep if you can. Like if you've got some downtime, like you don't have to set an alarm and jump up and call Adrienne and tell me all about it. Like if you can relax, if you can pet your dog, go on a walk, have some quiet time and prayer, meditation, journaling, those are the types of things I want them to do after their tachyon session. And then hours later or the next day, so I'll reach out to them the next day and I'll say, Hannah, how was your tachyon session yesterday? What were some things that came through? And the types of insights, Grace, would you agree? It's the longer, the 1 or 2 days after, more comes through for you that you won't be aware of right after your session.
Oh yeah. It's like when you're plugged in, and when you're in the chamber or having a remote session, when you're plugged in, there's just this this massive influx of energy in the way that it's right for you. And it takes, when you become grounded and back to your conscious mind, the things will start to filter through and come through and come into consciousness, because so much work, I think, in energy, for me at least, this is my own personal experience, is subconscious, because the things that are in my subconscious is the things that drive the car, so to speak. And so when the subconscious work is being done, it takes a minute for it to come conscious. And it's like in anything that I do, I always tell them it's 24, 48 hours. You may find that messages are coming from your neighbor because they're talking about something and you're like, oh my God, it's the same thing. It's like things will bubble to the surface because your energy is aligned with that message. And so the messages are going to come up. And the more, I think, even the more you do the tachyon, but the more you sit with the energy that you receive, the more the messages bubble up to the surface, because you're either ready to hear them or you're ready to experience whatever that is. And because you're in alignment with that vibration of that, whatever you're getting. So yeah.
Cool.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you for clearing that up. Because like I said, I feel like I wasn't the only, there's no way I was the only one that was like, wait a minute, remote?
No, and totally. I love that you asked the question, because I rarely actually go into, let me describe the in-person and let me describe the remote. If you can come in person, I do love that experience, all the senses engaged. And I would say, if you're anywhere around the Charlotte, North Carolina area, even a 2-mile driving distance, at least once come in person.
Yeah.
And then after that, you're going to know this energy. You're going to know what it feels like and how to deal with it. And you may even want to take home some goodies. Like there is tachyon tools that you can buy through my affiliate link. I will email you ladies that so you can post it with our show notes.
Awesome.
Yes. All the links will be in the show notes. The website, the code, the all the things will be in the show notes. So if you're interested, please go look at them. I'll also, in the post on social media, Instagram and Facebook, the links will always also be in those as well. And they will post when we post the episode.
So great.
So
great.
Yeah.
I just feel so much gratitude. I was asking Source for more opportunities to share the news about this tool, that it's available for people if it resonates with them. And I do feel like when Grace came, waltzing in for her first tachyon session, and we started riffing on all these ideas and collaboration, that was just another answer to prayer for me. So grateful for you, Grace, trusting your intuition and following your curiosity.
Yeah, absolutely. And you get a manifestor and a manifestor generator in a room together, and then some good energy, like galactic energy. Oh my God, things will start to happen.
And the Gemini energy, which
Yeah.
I had to laugh when you said Gemini. I was like, well.
I know.
Well.
I was bumming that I had to exit, because she and I really could have, we could have solved all the world's problems. Just
I was
another
giving
couple
her
hours.
full on market tips and marketing tips and things to do. And I'm like, what is this? Why? It's just, but it flows. And when it flows, I open my mouth and shit happens. And so
absolutely. No, we got to do it, right? It's there for a reason. And again, it's like that circle back, right? If I go ahead and ignore it during that time, that's going to come back. So why ignore it? Just let it do what it's going to do. Whether it has to come out of your mouth first before it'll go somewhere else, great. But just do it. Yeah. So I'm appreciative. I'm really glad that we had this talk today. I am very motivated because mostly out of curiosity though, right? I don't feel that, when Grace was talking about that, sometimes it's from desperation of oh my God, I need something so badly. It's kind of what could this do? Right? Let's see. So I feel motivated. I hope that anybody who's listening feels motivated too, just even if it's just curiosity and it takes a while before they're interested in this or something like it. I'm just grateful that you agreed to come on here and educate me and everybody else listening.
It's been such a pleasure and so much fun.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Adrienne. Thank you, angels, for listening. Again, all the information will be down below or in the social media post. And if you need us, you know where to find us. And if you have questions and you're like, you want to come talk to us because you know us, come talk to us. We'll talk to you about it.
Yeah,
we'll share with
sure.
you our knowledge and connect you. So yeah, lots of love. And we'll see you next week.
Hey, love you.
Bye.
Thanks for listening.
We hope we gave you something to support your journey.
Check out our Facebook or Instagram page to connect with us.
Have a great week.